specialist available, you also are able to look at what training is available, what options are available. Sometimes people may need repair and modifications. They may not need new equipment, but you have that group and team that all brings their expertise to the table. There's a paper from RESNA, which is Rehab Engineering Society of North America, on wheelchair service delivery, and that elaborates more on this model. The idea is you want the whole team together to look at the needs and adjust the needs of the individual. This is also part of the wheelchair service delivery. This is less about the people, but more about the process. And this model comes from a popular book on assistive technology training that we use in the classroom. You could ignore the diamonds with F because in the United States, those are spots where funding is needed. But the main idea with this model is it goes through specific places that you provide equipment and you can have training and follow-up, and it gives you a cautious stepwise process to be able to make sure the individuals match with the technology. So now talking about different models, it's always ideal to provide complex rehab in the home. And the reason for that is you can see the person, their environment, you can access the whole family unit, and the individual does not have to travel. However, this is not always realistic because it requires a lot of increased time and distance for the team. Not all team members can be there together. You can only bring so much equipment to the individual's home. When you get there, you have limited tools for adjustment, and it's difficult to have follow-up because it takes so much time to get there. So there are certain situations where it does help to see somebody in their home, but it's not always ideal. Another model is maybe not in the individual home, but in their community. What I like about this model is you're coming closer to that individual so they don't have to travel as far, but yet you're getting the whole community engaged. And so the model that I experienced is once a year, certain communities would be identified, and prior to coming to the time that you would fit them, there would be caseworkers and social workers to identify families. And so you would know ahead of time what equipment was available. So in this model, you have access to a lot of equipment. There's a lot of team members for different cases. You have a central place to store tools, and it really engages the community and allows the community leaders to benefit from helping members of the community and giving them access to people they may not normally see. The only drawback to this is your consumer still has to travel away from their home, and sometimes they have difficulty carrying the equipment back to their home. The follow-up may not be there if they can't return the next time that the group is on site, but you can address a lot of people in a short amount of time. Continuing with the model of a central location, there are places that maybe you go to where a bunch of individuals live. In the United States, we call it group homes. In some countries, there's orphanages. And when I participated in a group in Guatemala, we went to several different locations where the children and kids lived. And it was really nice because we could do a lot of adjustments at one time. As you can see in the pictures, we have a lot of people working and we can go between several different cases, and it allows a lot of follow-up and adjustment. What we learned from this model is sometimes people go that don't know anything about the equipment, and individuals get placed in the wrong size or wrong type of wheelchair. And so when experts come in and start doing the training, we can easily make some of those adjustments. So this was a really good model that we worked in, and it allowed a main location for equipment and tools, and it did allow a lot of opportunity for follow-up. A drawback is that sometimes the centers get very dependent on the team, and the staff may not have buy-in. Some of the staff members didn't want to place individuals in the equipment. They wanted to keep them in bed, whereas keeping them in bed was actually harming them, and we had to spend time doing training and helping them understand how that equipment was going to help them. Another model at a center is there can be places like I believe you guys toured earlier in the week where there's a assistive technology, I'm going to call it center. This was a group in Singapore that they had a central place that people would come to, that they could do a lot of demonstration and have a lot of model equipment. So it's nice because it's a neutral location. They have regular staff with expertise, and they have a main trial for technology, and it's really good for manufacturers, and always having access to tools is important. But again, the drawback is travel. You can't see a person's home environment, and sometimes the whole family isn't able to come to participate. So when we've moved around to the different models, one thing that we found is we have suitcases that have common pieces of equipment. We depend a lot on prefabricated equipment using Naugahyde and foam so that we could easily interchange when somebody has grown. Everything with assistive technology always has a lot of tools. And these are just some examples of some interchangeable positioning devices when we would come across somebody that needed growth or would need some quick interchanging of the equipment. So that was a really quick overview of some ideas and some models. I'm happy to take questions from you.
Thanks, Theresa. I think there are
yes.
questions. Yeah.
I can't hear if there's questions.
I don't think there are any more questions.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate you allowing me to participate. And good luck with the rest of the conference.
I don't have a question, but I just want to appreciate the presentation. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Miss Theresa, especially the community model I really liked, because this kind of self-help group, and if somebody finds any difficulty, so there are people to motivate them and then also help them how to overcome the difficulty. So this is the automatically problem solving model I find. Thank you. Very nice presentation, Miss Theresa.
Thank you.
So we may invite the next speaker. Next speaker, yeah, Mr. Jayachandran. Yeah, he is a physiotherapist with 25 years of experience in the clinical lead at North Wales Posture and Mobility Wheelchair Service. He specializes in complex conditions, 24-hour postural program, and complex rehabilitation technology. So over to you, Mr. Jayachandran.
Thanks, Rupali. Thank you. Can you hear me all okay?
Yeah, you are.
Excellent. Yes, thank you. I would like to thank the organizers, first of all, and I appreciate the opportunity to share my views and present today's conference. So I really appreciate that. Thank you. I'm a clinical lead. Obviously, I'm a physio. My specialty is around pediatrics, and but what I'm going to discuss today is more about what we do, because as a clinical lead in a wheelchair service, we cover North Wales. I would like to share my slides. Just a second. I hope you could see my slides.
Yes, we can see.
Excellent. Okay. So yeah. So my role is as a clinical lead. We cover North Wales. Obviously, UK. There are various models, but more or less, because it's NHS, we follow similar approach. There might be a bit of difference when it comes to funding, but I cover Wales. Particularly North Wales, and to cover the various counties, we have to reach out to the community in various destinations. So it's not just clinical practice that we do. We also reach out to them out in the community, and we do have various tackling clinics, and that's the only way we'll be able to reach out to them. So it's not just clinics. We also cover community visits. I'm going to focus more around the model that we advocate in North Wales. Obviously, it's NHS. It's commissioned by a joint committee, Welsh Commission. So what they do is obviously they come up with the specification, and we are guided with that specification. So I thought I'll share this, and it's obviously available in the out in the Google. So if you want to Google them, you should be able to see our criteria. And this is key because when it comes to patient outcome, so to measure the patient outcome, so it's very important that we have this referral to treatment, waiting times. And we have various stages that we need to adhere to. Obviously, it starts from referral and then assessment, ordering process, and handing over. And we have various stages, and we do have a timeline, for us to assess them and deliver the product. And the norm is 0 to 26 weeks, and it differs from pediatric to adult, but that's key for us. So with that in mind, we got to come up with various teams, and as soon as we get our referrals, we have our admin team to screen the referrals, and we have our duty therapist team to triage all those referrals. It's all single point referrals. So from various referral partners, it's comes to the PAMS. And that's where it gets triaged and screened and categorized into standard and complex. And once it's categorized, it goes to the respective team members. It's placed on the waiting list, whether it's pediatric up to 19 years old, adult team, engineering team, and if it's a standard one, then we issue them directly. So so there shouldn't be any delay. So we have a very good well-functioning team, and because we wanted it to make it more seamless, and we make sure that the transition is quite seamless. Obviously, I wanted to focus today on the complex because it's all about the complex rehabilitation technology. 75% of our referral are complex pathway, and within that complex pathway, it could be whether it's a manual wheelchair that we want to focus or whether it's powered wheelchair. But we provide them, NHS issue them. It's all funded by NHS, but it comes with the caveat that we only provide essential for essential needs, essential posture and mobility needs. Yeah. So we know why it's complex. So I want to take some time to go a little bit more about why it's complex. Obviously, it's complex because there are too many factors, unpredictable factors. It could be volatile. Sometimes it's the rate of, could be conditions, nature of the conditions, because not all conditions, we do have rapid deteriorating conditions and things like that. So we got to take that into consideration. Sometimes it could be the ambiguity, so lack of clarity. So whether the patient has got the potential to self-propel. Again, we don't know what the stages are going to be, how the conditions are going to progress. So what's going to be the best provision for them, and things like that. And or sometimes it could be the uncertainty, a lack of clarity. Which direction, which pathway to take. So that's being the main reason why it is important for us to try and reduce these complexities, all those factors. It is hard, but then it is important for us to then come up with the complex postural pathway. So we do have various pathways, for pediatrics, whether it's a manual wheelchair or issuing buggy, or whether it's a powered wheelchair, or whether it's an energy efficient wheelchair for active users, or whether it's more postural need. Again, it could be part of the 24-hour postural program, which I will be touching various backrest, consignment stock, headrest, harnesses, postural support systems, and various cushions. It is very important because, as we all know, it's a complex process. So it is very important for us to give that guidance and criteria to our clinicians so they could choose the right pathway. Great. Okay. So with that in mind, like I'm just going to project 8 points, of what we focus as part of our as wheelchair service delivery. Obviously, it's a person-centered approach to decision making. So to enable us to do this, obviously we try and um, adopt the framework, which is the ICF model. I'm sure most of them will be familiar with ICF model, because this is the model which covers the medical model of disability and the social model of disability. So with that in mind, we take all the biological factors into consideration when we are assessing these patients, and the psychological aspects and the social aspects. So basically, it's a biopsychosocial model. So it's a holistic approach to taking both, not just their medical impairment and disability, but also their social factors into consideration. And we work jointly with a lot of other agencies, so the second one is to promote choice on clinical appropriate options. So yes, we assess them, but also it's a jointly agreed goal. So we explain this to the patients, and to promote that choice of clinical appropriate options, we do have various range of options within the manual wheelchair, whether it's a passive tilt-in space wheelchair, or whether it's standard wheelchair, more configurable or more energy efficient wheelchairs. This is just an example, but we do have few ranges within each of these categories. And same approach with the powered wheelchairs. We have drive only wheelchairs, we have with more around tilt in space recline, and with risers options. Again, all this is funded by NHS. Some of the features, so it's not funded, but as I said, initially it's more to do with essential posture and mobility needs, but we do have a range of choice to consider within the powered wheelchairs as well. So the third point is, so we would like to facilitate and encourage safe, independent mobility, so which is key, and we all know why it's important, and we try and focus more around early intervention. So we have the powered option, for under 5. So we start at the early stage, so we got this busy bug, and all we wanted to try and do is facilitate any purposeful movement and any potential that the child may have. So we wanted to try and facilitate that. We also have a drive deck, which is basically it's controlled by the joystick, but any wheelchair, whether it's a manual wheelchair or other wheelchairs, can go on this drive deck. And then we should be able to use this as an assessment tool, or to build up the confidence for these little ones. So yeah, so we have this, and again we focus more around early intervention. If we see any potential for them to operate the joystick or switches, and maybe any controls, we try and encourage that. And obviously minimizing risk of pressure sores, we liaise with the tissue viability nurse, and we do have various range of pressure relieving cushions in stock, yeah, so whether it's foam, gel, air, or hybrid cushions, and we maintain and improve existing function and maintain improvability to interact with the environment. This is key, and this is where it's very important that we liaise with other agencies, whether it's speech and language therapist or whether it's environmental access team, where they focus more around communication, focus more around environmental access. So we work very closely with them, and again, we focus on special controls. We as a wheelchair therapy, we do have engineering team where they specialize and program and choose the right special controls, whether it's hand controlled, head controlled, chin controlled, foot controlled. There are various special controls that's available. So we do assess, and based on the potential, we try and liaise with the speech and language therapists and the ET team. And the next point is provide postural support, minimize risk of worsening postural deformities. Again, as wheelchair therapists, we just don't focus around wheelchair. So we do try and work very closely with our community therapist team that includes both community physio and community OT. So we do the joint assessment, postural assessment where required, and clearly when things are identified and if it's right, we do provide them with the seating that's more configurable seating options. And this seat can be transferred to the high-low base, which the child should be able to use in their classroom environment or in their home environment. And if they wanted to use it as a wheelchair, this seating we should be able to transfer that on the mobility base. So this is where the joint working comes in place. So we work very closely with the community team as part of the 24-hour pastoral program. And that could be modular seating. And when it comes to custom seating, so clearly, so we as a wheelchair service try and facilitate that by taking molded and try to come up with a bespoke, tailor-made seating options, whether it's foam cut curve or whether it's AB shell. So we come up with the for the highly complex cases. So we do again work closely with the community team. And what we try to do is not just with the seating, we also try and encourage as a slip system in the nighttime, because the whole point is to facilitate 24-hour pastoral program. So for these highly complex ones, so we try and facilitate the 24-hour pastoral program. And obviously we regularly review them and maintain and repair services. That's all done by NHS. To summarize this, obviously we do have various headrest, backrest and seating as part of 24 pastoral programs. We try and liaise with the community team. And when it comes to special control, we liaise with our speech and language therapist and EAT team. So that's the communication aid. So that's the whole wheelchair. But it doesn't stop there. What is important is the integrated pathway. So we work very jointly with the social service team. So we make sure that the environment is suitable, their properties adapted, they have ramps, they have other modifications, toilets, and access to their bedrooms. And we work very closely with the mobility scheme as well. Obviously, most of these service users are very independent. So we try and liaise with the mobility scheme, choosing an ideal wheelchair accessible vehicle, hoist facilities, manual handling, and things like that. And obviously, we work with other agencies very closely. That would be like school staff members, community therapists, or nursing homes, where we try and assess their access, whether they are able to access the classroom, desks, and things like that. And obviously, we work very closely with tissue viability team, because most of our patients are at risk of pressure sores. So we do have a very good pathway, integrated pathway with our community nursing team and district nurse team. And clearly, it doesn't end just with postural needs or functional needs. So clearly, we focus on the leisure and sports activities. So we liaise with the disability sports wheels team, and we signpost our service users to disability sports wheels, where they should be able to discuss what is best sports for them, and they will have a taster session and they should be able to pursue that. And clearly, we also have a repair and maintenance service, where we try and maintain and do the annual maintenance, and any repairs they contact us. The highlighted bit that I would like to focus is around the school. Clearly, I'm from India, but I'm been practicing here, and I'm being closely liaising with my colleagues and friends at back home. What I see is, yes, we have wheelchairs, we have adaptive aids, assistive technology aids, and all this stuff, but it will be good for us to focus more around inclusion, particularly with children. Children are seen as children with special needs. Special needs could be learning disability or physical. Most of the children, so where the conditions are more physical, but they attend mainstream schools. So I think it is very important for us to enable them to be included in the mainstream schools. And I'm really glad to see that there has been a recent circular around the CBSE schools, where they try and encourage to try and advocate all the access and toilets and things like that within the CBSE schools. So I'm really glad that it is happening. But clearly there is a need to consider that the system to create partnership between government, non-government and private agencies to improve access. So that is lacking. So it will be good for us to focus around that area. So that's from me. Thank you for listening. Thank you. I'm happy to take any question.
Thank you. If anyone have any question, physical participant. Mr. Jayachandran, it was excellent presentation. Really happy to know the work you are doing in this field. It's very comprehensive work. Like your thing have provision for training for caregiver also? Is there any provision?
Yes, we do. We do. Yes, we do. As said, we closely work with school agencies and nursing homes staff members. So we provide training to them, and obviously the other one will be with the services that yeah.
So your
I
service.
do have hands up from Suresh Kumar.
Yeah. Mr.
Hi,
Suresh.
Suresh.
Thanks, Jayachandran. Fascinating presentation. I put my question on the chat box since it was not seen. I thought I'll just raise my hand and then ask it as well. So the question primarily was, whatever you said as a pathway in Wales is quite organized and it's sufficiently resourced. And whenever you said NHS will take care of things. So the question really is, what is your opinion on the implementation of this pathway in an Indian context? What do you think will be the crucial strategy to translate this evidence to any low and middle income countries, particularly India? Can you please throw some lights on it?
Yeah, no, thanks for asking the question.
Sir, it's muted. Kindly unmute, sir. Sir Jayachandran, it's muted.
Can you hear me now? Yeah, no, thanks for that, Suresh. Clearly, we still have a lot of work to do, within our NHS, Wales model, and we are constantly reviewing it. And now we are more focusing around disease-specific group or condition-specific, because not all conditions are same when it comes to rapid deteriorating conditions, MND, and things like that. So we still have a long way to go. But going back to our Indian context, so clearly there are a lot of areas where we could improve, but we'll have to, and there's a lot of improvement. I've witnessed myself in last 2 decades. Amazing, when it comes to product development, we do have products, but then I still see they are unable to access, when it comes to social, access, whether it's transport, whether it's accessing to the schools. I know there's big changes required. So that's why we'll have to start somewhere. Maybe school is the best place for children, and it is doable. I think it is doable, and the recent circular, which is more recent, last month from to all the CBSE schools. Don't have all schools, in terms of coming to specific disability, but they could at least focus. If there are 100 schools in the city, 1 in 10 schools, they could support and facilitate this access to these children, because I know it's not just learning disability. Previously, everyone was seen under one umbrella as special needs, but we'll have to try and fragment the special needs as learning disability. But we do have mild to moderate to complex physical disability, and they are very good with their IQ and cognitive wise. So we should be able to facilitate that and include them in the mainstream. Probably that's somewhere we could start. Yeah. So
perfect. Thank you, Jayachandran. If there's time, I can ask one more question. Rupali ma'am, is that okay?
You ask, because nobody from physically is asking. So.
Great, thanks, sir. So the second question to you, Jayachandran, is
We have two more questions.
Hello.
okay. So I'll quickly ask this question then. So the second question is related to the prescription of the product. So who prescribes this, and do you think in case of Wales or in the entire United Kingdom, in the academic curriculum, do you have training to prescribe these as assistive products? If yes, which professionals are actually getting this training?
Excellent. Yeah, as said, we still have a lot of work to do. Clearly, when we say prescription, can I request others to mute, please? I think there's a lot of, maybe Dr. Rupali, and yeah. Thanks, Rupali. Okay, from prescription point of view, we do prescribe wheels, cushions, accessories, and all the stuff. But when it comes to other products as part of the 24-hour partial program, that we do have a community therapist, like, physios and OT and social service OTs who focus on home seating, sleep systems, and things like that. But when it comes to training, yes, we don't have a qualification or degree for wheelchair therapist. Like, it's either physios or OTs, or we do have clinical scientists and rehab engineers, like, as part of our team. It's a mixed bag at the moment. So we do provide training when they start with us, like, so quite intensive, quite comprehensive training program that we provide for all our new staff members. That can take up to 4 to 6 months, like, for them to get used to all this range of products, product knowledge, our pathways and process. So we do provide training, but what we have now proactively trying to do is trying to educate our OT students and educate our physio students, not around, as part of their curriculum. So we now reached out to Wrexham University students. So we do training. So we go down as part of the module we cover, so they get the essence of, oh, okay, this is what wheelchair guys do, like, and that was really positive. So we have more positive, and we also do this specific group training, whether it's stroke team or whether it's MND team or whether it's spinal cord injury team, vascular team. So we go out, like, and provide disease specific, because obviously they have their own pathways. So we try and see where there is need. And we try and educate them as well. And that's where we are at the moment. We are focusing more around condition specific and disease specific.
Perfect. Thank you, Jayachandran.
One question from the hall.
Thank you.
I have a
Mr. Jayachandran?
quick.
Hello, hi.
One
I have a-
question from the hall.
I have a quick question.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
One question from the hall.
Yeah,
Quick
please
question.
do, please do.
Quick question
Happy to.
for you. I really enjoyed the 8 steps that you talked about for your service delivery process. And I was wondering if that was based on a model or if that's something that you developed internally, because I'd like to learn a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so this is something, yes, it's internal, and also it's part of the All Wales wheelchair specification. And so when I say All Wales wheelchair specification, because we are commissioned by Welsh government, and obviously we need to try and maintain that equity and fairness and, with the service delivery system. So these are covered as part of our wheelchair specification, and we are guided by that criteria. As said, because it's NHS funded, so we do have some limitations. So we'll have to stick to the criteria. We do have some exclusion criteria, and we do have some exceptional criteria as well. But we also have joint funded schemes and things like that. So yeah, the 8 steps that I was trying to rush through within 10 minutes is all from the All Wales wheelchair specification.
I hope that answers. No, do you have time?
One more question, quick question.
One more question.
One more quick question. Can I?
Can you take one more question?
I'm happy to. I got time.
No.
Okay. Thank you for the presentation, Dr. Jayachandran. I'd like to ask you one question about the ICF. So when you said about ICF model you have done for the assessment, how long it takes for you to do that assessment?
Okay, yeah. as wheelchair service therapist, yeah, so it takes minimum 2 hours. So our slot is 2 hours slot. We try and do this comprehensive assessment, but obviously it's a snapshot. Like, we can only, assess so much, but we need to sometimes have to assess their environment. So one of our therapists will have to go out to the property to complete the environmental assessment to see if the property is accessible and things like that. And this is again from wheelchair perspective. And if there is a need, they then have to liaise with the social service team. The social service team will then take over and will do the necessary adaptations, and they'll contact us, and we should be able to issue them with the power provision. So as a biopsychosocial model, we should be able to identify the needs. It takes 2 hours, but sometimes when it comes to power provision, there is more. And then we do have some follow-up visits, because when it comes to speech and language therapists, if they wanted to try and work together in terms of communication aid, choosing the right communication aid, so then we do have additional session. Sometimes we do have additional sessions for special controls. Sometimes we do have additional sessions with our environmental access team, because they wanted to access their tele, they wanted to access their door, alarm, things like that. So which they can, at the moment. So we do have access, via the special controls. So yeah, so anything more will take additional sessions, but initial assessment takes 2 hours.
Okay, thank you.
No worries.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, Mr. Jagannathan. Hello. Yeah.
Hello, I can hear you.
Thanks, Mr. Jagannathan. I think it was a wonderful
Thank you. Please.
lecture. Next speaker shall I introduce? Yeah. I introduce Dr. D. Vincent Jayaraj, Vice Principal, Physiotherapy Department at Madha College of Physiotherapy, Chennai. He will speak on role of physiotherapist and assistive device in para sports. He is a master's in physiotherapy. He is the Vice Principal of Madha College of Physiotherapy and Vice President of the Tamil Nadu Para Cricket Association. He is also the team physiotherapist for the Tamil Nadu Paralympic Sports Association and a WHO certified wheelchair trainer. I welcome you.
Yeah, good afternoon all. Thank you patiently for sitting for the every sessions. So my today's topic is role of physiotherapist and assistive device in para sports. Right from the morning, you have heard many things related to the assistive devices. Now we are going to see few things which they are going to use in the field of para sports. So the Paralympics sports, it is a major international multi-sports. Especially nowadays in India, it's emerged like anything. And it comprises of 9 indications or 9 conditions collectively. They are locomotory, visual, as well as intellectual problems compromise to contribute in the play of the Paralympics. So if you go about the history, so in the year 1948, after the war, injured players, they gathered and they have played some kind of activities with a very less quantity. But years and years passes. Now in the recent 2024, almost 170 countries have participated in the particular Paralympics. And our India, they have participated around 84 players. And almost few medals, that means 29 medals they have pursued. And in case of the para sports, there are almost 28 games in the 22 games that will come under the summer sports and around 6 games that will come under the winter games. So whatever the pictures that coming backside, I want to contribute or I want to give some kind of importance to the para players actually. They are most of the players, they are from Tamil Nadu. Now, what is the role of physiotherapist in case of the para sports means? The first thing is we want to do a classification. So classification means which category they are going to be to play in that particular sports. And next, we want to do in a injury prevention as well as a management. For example, they're having any kind of tight muscle or some strain. We want to address prior to the particular sports event and make them to participate in the particular events. And next, rehabilitation. That is after some kind of injuries. And most important thing is the sports-specific training that should be given for the individual athletes. For example, when a person he is doing a shot put, the core muscles as well as the shoulder stability kind of exercises we want to concentrate rather to the other kind of activities. So like that, a sports-specific intervention should be addressed to the individual candidates. And a classification system. The classification system, it comprises of three important questions. The first one it is, does the athlete have an eligible impairment for the sports? For example, I'm having a less muscle power. It may be because of any prolonged bed rest. That can't be considered. So whether it should be classified whether that comes under any neurological factor, any musculoskeletal injuries, or any kind of inborn diseases. And next, does the athlete's eligible impairment meets the minimal impairment criteria? So certain sports, it has some kind of minimal impairments. For example, dwarfism, they should be under 151 centimeter. If they are exceed above that in a particular age, they are not eligible for the particular sports activity. So we want to consider that the minimal impairment criteria. And next one, which sports class should the athlete should be allocated? So if they are in a track and field events, which categories they should come under? So like that, the category wise, the individual player should be allocated. So these are the 9 different categories the individual person should come under. So for example, the impaired muscle power, impaired passive range of motion, limb deficiency. So if you see about the impaired range of movement, it may be because of any post-traumatic stiffness, any contractures. So like that, these 9 categories we want to check, and according to the particular impairments, we want to fit in the sports categories. So classification level is over. Now if you see, means it is about the injury prevention. So first, if you want to do an injury prevention, means we want to analyze the individual person about the movement patterns. Okay, so for example, if you take about the spinal cord patient is different and polio category is different. Both of them having a involvement or some kind of problem over the core muscles or abdominal muscles. If a spinal cord injury patient with a higher level, we can't expect a muscle contraction over the abdominal. But if a polio patients, they may have some kind of abnormal contractions while coughing. So we want to place our hand on their abdomen and check. We want to inform the individual person to cough and check whether there any contraction is there or not. So like that also we can assess. Next, custom exercise programs. So individual sports. So as I have mentioned earlier, for throwing events like a shot put or a javelin throw, we want to specifically check about the muscle flexibility, muscle strength, as well as the cardiovascular endurance also we want to check. So all this should be analyzed. The customized program should be done for the individual sports as well as the individual person. Next one, it will be a flexibility. So right from the every joints, okay, it is moving freely. So it shows indirectly that the muscle flexibility is there or not. Or any adhesion formations that will be present in between the joints or not. We want to analyze that. And next component, it will be the strength training. So if you see about this particular 29 players, they have got medals. So individual sports, they have trained. If you check about the Tulasi Madi, she have secured a medal in case of badminton. She can't go and participate in case of swimming effectively. Okay, so that's what the sports specific training should be done for the individual candidates, and the joint wise, shoulder joints, elbow joint, or depends upon the performance, we want to concentrate on the particular strength training. So these are about the muscles and thing. And next one, most important thing is a cardiovascular. This is most important for the wheelchair racings. So not only the types of wheelchair, but also the cardiovascular fitness that will make the individual candidate or the persons to perform more effectively. So we want to concentrate about the upper flexibility as well as about the trunk mobility. So now come to the assistive devices which are used in the para sports. So there are various categories. Next it will be a sensory and intellectual limitations. So these three components depends upon the different categories, a locomotory problem or the intellectual related kind of things we used to analyze. So if we see about the para sports, the first most commonest assistive device they are using is a wheelchairs. So in the wheelchairs also there are different types of sports. Racing type of wheelchair, it won't suitable for the tennis kind of activities. So individual sports, the different kind of wheelchairs it will be they have used. And if you see about this particular video, the first thing, the wheelchair racing. And second type of wheelchair they are used, they play for the basketball. So both the wheelchair are different. So according to the sports, the wheelchair also should be modified. Next, prosthetics. So either it will be a blades or either exo or a endoskeletal things we want to check. And if you see about this particular player, he used this blade for the running activities, and also sometime he used to use this kind of blades for the long jump. So these are the training sessions we are given for the individual athletes. Here's Mr. Rajesh. He has secured a gold medal in the recent Kalo India events. And last one, it is a visual assistance. Either it will be a guide. If the person will be a partial blind or a complete blind, they need one more guide to run along with them. So the treatment or a training, it is not only for the para athlete. Again, we want to give some kind of instruction to the person who is going along with the athletes, because they should the guide should not cross the athletes. If they cross means it will become a foul. So we can use the theaters and some kind of sound clues. So these are the different kinds of visual assistant devices we can use in case of para athletes. So first, we physiotherapy role as a summarize the classification. We want to do a correct classification and put the individual person in the right sports. And second, we want to assess the individual person because they should not go for any injury. So injury prevention and sports specific task. And third one, it will be a specific kind of exercises activities. And last one, we are focused about the assistive devices. So these are the four important roles. And most important role apart from this is the counseling. We want to counsel the particular athletes as well as the caregivers also. So these are the major role of an individual physiotherapist in the particular para sports. Thank you. Any queries?
Thanks, Dr. Vincent. Any questions? I think Dr. Vincent has delivered a wonderful lecture.
Thank you,
enabling the, the technology as well as your knowledge from a normal routine life to a higher level, that is Olympic level.
Thank you, sir. Because 1 year I have become a physio for a Tamil Nadu team. Yeah. Previously they secured almost some totally either 5 or 6 medals. But this particular year, the first Para Kalo India, they have went for a third in a table throughout India, and last national event they went for a second in a table, and we are trying for the table toppers. Okay. So that is our role.
Really transformation.
Sir?
A transformation for them.
Yeah, of course. It's not only for the Tamil Nadu players, it's for the entire India.
Yeah, correct.
Thank you all.
Yeah, any input from the chairperson, ma'am? Dr. Rupali? No, I think. Question? Yeah. I think
Yes, sir.
Hi, good afternoon. I think it was a very nice and very innovative presentation. In India, we don't see these kind of initiatives much. So my question is like, how much time do you or the team or your team takes to prepare somebody to this level of competitive preparation?
Sir,
Like-
first thing we want to check about the individual person fitness, sir. It's not only about the fitness. Again, the emotional factors as well as right from the morning we are seeing about the barriers for the individual persons. They are using assistive devices, right? Same way the families, sometimes they will have a barriers. Financial aspect, they have some barriers. So if you want to wash away all this, it at least need some 3 to 5 months of continuous training, and we want to break that barriers, sir.
So the next point is like, do you also have a set kind of a curriculum based or a methodology for such training, or is it more tailor made for the individual capacities and competencies?
Actually, we have some kind of international standard exercise protocols is there. And again, if you want to fill to the individual candidate, we want to make little bit of tailor made to the particular persons.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
One more question.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
This is Shriram here. My question is, like, in your experience, have you ever come across a multiple sclerosis patient?
In this particular team, I never seen a multiple sclerosis, sir, because they are not coming forward because they are not having enough information that they also can participate in the para sports. So in future, if comes, sure we can try to help.
Sounds good then. Yeah.
Thank you.
any input from chairperson?
Thank you.
Hello.
Madam, Rupali ma'am.
Yeah. Actually, already my question is been answered. So we may move to the next presentation. Another presentation is there.
Before that, token of appreciation from the Mobility India.
Yes, I want to thank one more thing, sir. Before 14 years, I came here as a internship trainer to gain a knowledge about the assistive devices as well as about the particular physiotherapy related things. One day I just saw step out of the particular gate training area. They have teached only for the faculties of Mobility India about the particular wheelchair and some trainings. And I got an opportunity to go through that. And later they have invited, once I am a faculty in SRM University for a wheelchair course. And now they have invited me for giving a lectures. Thank you for the entire team, especially for Raju sir. Thank you.
Community outreach programs, NIPMER's holistic approach to disability care. He is an assistant professor at clinical occupational therapist at NIPMER, specializing in upper extremity rehabilitation. He creates customized sprints and adaptive devices to enhance therapy outcomes for individuals with disabilities. Mr. Surya Prakash.
you're going to display here?
Hello, good evening everyone. So myself Surya Prakash, Assistant Professor from Department of Occupational Therapy, National Institute of Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation, Kerala. So today I'm here to talk about some complex rehab technology services that are provided in our institution, and also a perspective change of our rehab professionals that we need to address in this stage. So National Institute of Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation, the NIPMR located in Kerala, India, is a leading organization committed to providing advanced rehabilitation services for people with disabilities. So NIPMR combines state-of-art technology with evidence-based practice to offer comprehensive care, helping individuals regain their independence and improve their quality of life. Over the years, NIPMR has emerged as a center of excellence in rehabilitation, and thanks to its adaptation for high-tech services that cater to a wide range of needs. So the advanced rehab technology services that are provided by NIPM are ceiling lifts, aquatic therapy, Rehab Express, which is called as a bus which will transport the disabled persons, and also the therapist to a wide range of inaccessible area, and provide therapeutic and services, then virtual reality unit, and instrumented gait and motion analysis. So coming to complex rehab technology and our community outreach program, NAPMR has actively collaborating with our local government bodies, including Panchayat administration, district authorities, to conduct various camps across Kerala. So through this camp, our institute sends many of our professionals to assess and to identify the need for the complex rehab technology, like especially wheelchair, both powered and non-powered wheelchair, where they usually take measurements, and through the following sessions we used to deliver the wheelchairs to the particular community members. So through that, there are many parts of Kerala. Our NAPMR had distributed various types of complex rehab technologies, and many of them got benefited through it. So a shift towards the perspective about low-tech adaptive devices. So even though we all in our institution we practice about advanced rehab technology and even complex rehab technology, so we felt that there is an ongoing demand about low-tech adaptive devices and splinting to address the need of patients with disabilities. To address this need, the Department of Occupational Therapy has established a specialized hand splinting unit to provide patients with customized adaptive devices and splints. The unit will create and provide delivered products designed to enhance patients' daily functions and performance. So customized adaptive devices and splint fabrication. This specialized unit within the occupational therapy focuses on identifying individuals with disabilities who require customized adaptive devices and splints tailored to their specific needs. The devices are designed and fabricated on-site by experts to meet the unique requirements of each patient. So this is our specialized unit for hand therapy, so hand splinting. So these are a few of our work which we did. So this the video which you see is a patient with a thumb amputation, where he came up with a complaint of not able to hold the glass or bottle of water very in a strong position to drink the water, where even though he is able to hold, so he feels very discomfort at holding the glass. So he came up and asked to make something for him so that he could get benefited through it. So basically he is a profession by driver. So what happens is all the time when he visits hotel and eat on a daily basis, so he could not drink water basically through his left hand. So what happens is always whenever he eats food, he feels very discomfort. So that was his complaint. So I came up with an idea to fabricate this low-tech adaptive device which will help to hold the glass or a bottle which will up to 2 liters weight. So this is the video of the post fabrication of this assistive devices. So he is able to comfortably hold the glass. So this glass holder has been designed according to the middle finger, ring finger and the little finger, because his even the index finger has been affected too much. So coming to the next video. So this just a gist of the fabrication again. So the patient tries to hold it in a different way, whether the bottle falls. So he tries to shake it and see, but still it doesn't fall. And he also keep explaining the difference between his previous experience and this experience. So, but that could not be displayed here. Some trouble. It's not changing. Next slide, next slide. Come to the next slide. Next. Okay. Sorry for the technical delay. And this is one more assistive device video. So this is a patient of 18-year-old with cerebral palsy. So he is a person who uses a powered wheelchair. So what happens is he had come up with a complaint of not able to use his fingers effectively to operate the wheelchair, where he always depends on the wrist movements. So we have to come up with a solution. So we had came up with a solution of fabricating a dorsal block assistive device splint, which help him to hold his wrist in a neutral position. So he is able to use his fingers effectively while maneuvering this wheelchair. So you could see how fast he is able to propel the wheelchair using the device. So he is going around with the using of the fingers. So previously he used his wrist. Community outreach program for low-tech assistive devices. So after identifying the need for, there is a low-tech assistive device need in Kasaragod. So Kasaragod district in Kerala became an epic center of tragic environment disaster due to aerial spraying of endosulfan, a highly toxic pesticide on cashew plantations for over 2 decades from the last 1970s to early 2000s. So this led to severe health issues among the local population, including congenital disabilities, developmental disorder, cancers, and other chronic illness. So the affected areas, especially the villages of Kasaragod, witnessed a significant increase in the neurological disorder, physical deformities, and mental health problems. So we came across different varieties of physical disabilities, where you could see most of them were either bedridden or either having a locomotive problem or having a severe contractures in their limbs, which affects their day-to-day daily activities. So we came up with a solution from NIPMR. The Kerala government initially adopted a medical model focusing on healthcare to manage symptoms through medical camps and hospital. However, this approach lacked rehabilitation, social integration, and economic support, compounded by shortage of professionals and assistive technology for people with disabilities. So in response to that, NIPMR implemented rehabilitation model in Kasaragod, focusing on outreaching and addressing the urgent need for splint and assistive devices despite infrastructure challenge. So these camps offered therapy, training, support, and helping individuals regain independence and dignity. So significance of this endosulfan community outreach program: in typical camps, experts usually conduct assessments and just create plans and the patient needs and take measurements. However, the product, by the time the product delivered, either it does not fit to the patient, so it always have lot of fitting problems, or either it always been not used. So, but in this team, we had made an immediate fabrication and delivery on the same day, so which were also comfortable and custom fitted. So, and we also conduct every month follow-up camps, so through which we will make progress in adjustments and everything. So these are the few works which we did through the camps. So coming to the conclusion, in response to endosulfan tragedy, highlights the importance of adapting a rehabilitation model in a disaster recovery. It also emphasizes the growing need for low-tech customized assistive devices alongside more advanced solutions like complex rehab technology. Rehabilitation professionals should focus on what benefit patients the most, prioritizing practical and tailored solution. So thank you. So in a short summary, I just want to tell that we as an institution, we felt that there is still a need for low-tech adaptive devices. So we would suggest we may still work on bringing combination of low-tech assistive devices and complex rehab technology, so that may still take the people activities of daily living or IADLs better than ever. So like which I showed in the video, even though the child is able to propel the wheelchair, advanced wheelchair, so but still there is some problems need to be addressed. So where there, in case these adaptive devices could be used. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Suriprakash. I think you could have given a brief on your institute also. Fine, that's fine. I think Mr.
Thank you. For next time I will change it. Thank you.
That's fine. Any questions from online?
Actually, we have not explored, but there are upcoming 3D printers in many places of India, especially Bangalore. Have few places where 3D printed splints and assistive devices has been used, but that comes with a cost. So So as we are, serving the people who are in a very rural background, and we need to, even though these materials are pretty costly, but still we are managing it to give sometimes free, most of the times free, and at affordable costs. But yeah, we are mainly focused on custom fitting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Just I say that because it has been done in other countries, and they also have a community. So when they create a specific orthosis, or when they print a specific device for adapting a wheelchair, for example, they keep the 3D file and they share it in the community. So you can expand your possibilities through this system.
We will soon work on it. Thank you.
Online, I think Chairperson has a question.
Yeah, Many congratulations. It's a very nice presentation, Mr. Sriprakash. I just want to know regarding that hand splint, as you said, it actually helped to hold the glass tightly. And that person in profession, he was a driver. So whether that splint helped him in driving also, just to know.
So that splint is fabricated especially for holding bottle only while eating food. So simultaneously he will use, so for an example, most of us have a habit of eating with the right hand and holding a glass or a water bottle with the left hand. So what happened with this person is, due to his disability, where he was not able to perform that task. So he is not comfortable to touch the bottle or the glass of water with his eating hand, with basically the right hand while eating. So he himself felt that it is a need for him. So we actually, as a client-centered person, OTs do practice as a client-centered. So as per his wish, I came up with a design. So that is particularly used only for that purpose. So if in case it is needed for any other purpose, so if the person could describe the problem, we could come up with a different solution.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
One question.
Yeah. Slide number?
Slide number 15, 15. Slide number 15. Yeah. I think last 2 slides before your thank you.
15. I opened it.
So what you will see is like this, what we call as A for CAFO and
No.
something like that.
Can't hear you, sir.
Yeah. It's basically like what we say A4 and CAFO, right?
No, this is a knee gutter splint, low temperature thermoplastic knee gutter splint. So which helps to keep your knee straight while you're sleeping.
Okay, while sleeping.
While sleeping, or you can use it for therapeutic activities as well.
Okay. But it will of any support to kind of have an independent walking as well? Not one in the sleeping portion, right? Yeah. Okay. But with that walker support, right? Yeah. Okay.
So there are different types of it available. So it is thermoplastic, but for adults, it may not be suitable. It is a child. So we even commercially available products are there. So you can use it for standing nighttime use.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you.
One token of appreciation from the organizers. Request the chairperson to sum up and conclude.
Thank you. It was an excellent session. I enjoyed actually all the presentation, and holistically they have covered the topic, the CRT service delivery system, practice, and then outcomes. So as we know, it is a very like important aspect for running the smooth system. And we need so many innovative ideas. So as I am in the government sector, so I feel it like there is a urgent need for strong public-private partnership, so that these innovative ideas can be widely spread nationwide. And then some of the organization was outside India, so we have to find out how to include those ideas in India. And then our Indian population, we have a large number of person, and in the morning also it was discussing like in coming years number will be double and triple. So I think this is the high time before the things become worsen. We should work on further focus on, like along with the developing the CRT, then also focusing on training of various aids appliance by the user, by the caregivers, and then as I mentioning in the morning also, the procurement thing also you have to do for smooth procurement system. And definitely, as Dr. Ravinder was also saying in the morning session, like the outcome feedback after using those complex CRT, what is the feedback from the patient, and then after that followed by and again RAD. So thank you. I think this was an excellent session. Thank you, co-chair. So I would like to request co-chair further add to some few more points. Thank you.
Thanks, ma'am.
Ma'am, I would also like to thank you for joining us virtually today. Thank you for your valuable words. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on the dais. Thank you.
Thank you.
We will have a break for 5 minutes. We'll join back by 5 minutes. And we'll have the last session. 5 minutes break. We are going to start for the last session for today's program, session 4. The topic will be workforce development for CRT. I would like to call Dr. Gauri Nambiar Sen Gupta, Deputy Director General Public Health and Director Central Health Education Bureau, Directorate General of Health Services, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India, contributing to various health-related projects and initiatives. Her work is pivotal in advancing public health, focusing on inclusive and accessible healthcare solutions. Ma'am, please. For this, I would like to call Mr. Shoikat Ghosh Maulik on the dais to give a token of respect. Sir, please. Over to you, ma'am.
Okay, so I think I have the toughest job of actually addressing people who are now fed up of sitting and sick of and also like I think you should have about 2 minutes of birdie dance or something so that everybody can get up and actually exercise all those back muscles and the glutes and all. So without further ado, I think we'll stick to the timeline and I call upon my first speaker for today, Dr. Carmen. Dr. Carmen is a PhD and a professor and interim director at Ohio State University's Occupational Therapy Division. With 31 years of expertise in assistive technology and rehabilitation engineering, he also leads the Assistive and Rehabilitative Technology Certificate Program and has presented internationally on multiple platforms. And he's here to talk upon workforce development for CRT, developing an international workforce for CRT. Dr. Carmen, please.
Usually we're with the students or even with faculty. We do. Is that better? Thank you. Appreciate that. Usually we do something at the end, at the beginning of every session, and we scream out OH, and everybody else screams it back IO. I'm not going to try it today, but if you see somebody wearing an Ohio State hat and you say OH to them, be prepared. They will scream back IO. And it usually does get everybody a little motivated. So we won't do that today, but I just would like to start off. I'm talking about the development of an international workforce for CRT, but I do like today's discussion, and I'm going to highlight that a little bit about the broader area of assistive technology. And I really appreciated the previous presenter talking about the importance of low-tech assistive technology and high-tech assistive technology. They all have to work together. We already went over introductions about myself, so I'm going to skip that for right now. And being an educator, I always focus on objectives. I want to make sure that you're able to take away something from today's presentation. So first objective is describe the need for trained professionals in AT. In this group, I don't think that's going to be a hard thing to do. Describe goals of training and education programs. So this is the thing that I hope is the takeaway for many of you, that you're able to take away these goals and see how you can potentially employ them in your own environment. And then the last thing is to illustrate a program that is using some of these goals, and that's the Assistive and Rehabilitative Technology Certificate Program that we have at Ohio State University. Also being an educator, I like to tell people where I'm going with a presentation. So introductions I took care of. Challenge I'm going to talk about next. Developing the workforce, the application at the Ohio State University. And then I'm going to prime the pump a little bit and ask that you really start thinking about questions that you may want to ask at the end of the presentation. So the challenge is that we as stakeholders want to be able to provide assistive technology, provide not only the devices, but the services and work with individuals with disabilities. And in order to do that, we have to have a workforce that can provide those services, provide those devices in different areas. And there's the 4 Ps that comes out of an article from Emma Smith. She was the lead author on it. Talks about the 4 Ps, the prescribers, the producers, the payers, and the policymakers. And so those are the individuals, those are the stakeholders that we're primarily focusing on when it comes to workforce development. And the term I like to use is level set. Make sure that we're all on the same level, that we're all taking the same things, talking the same language, because that's very important in the field. There's a lot of acronyms that are used in the field of assistive technology. And so when we look at a concentric circle, we start at the outside thinking about assistive technology, then personal mobility, then wheeled mobility. And at the center is what I'm focusing on is complex rehabilitation technology. And NCART is a professional organization within the United States. It's the National Coalition on Assistive and Rehabilitation Technology. And they're the ones that started coining this phrase CRT back in 2014. So I wanted to give them credit for that. So when asking the question, is there really a need for trained personnel? Coming from an academic institution, I went to the literature, looked in there, and there's not a whole lot when it comes to wheeled mobility, but there's a lot when it comes to assistive technology. And there were 4 articles that stood out to me. The first 2 by Borg et al. From 2009, 2011, that just came out and said, yes, there's a lack of trained professionals. But the other key nugget that they pointed out was the fact that there's a lack now in 2009, but there's going to be a huge, huge disparity when we get to 2020 and beyond. And that disparity is due to the advancement of mainstream technologies. So think about how the smartphones have changed our lives. They're changing the lives for people with disabilities as well, and we have to understand how to incorporate that into the overall assistive technology system. The second one is the article I talked about earlier. It was from the GREAT Summit, and it was a summary of the education needs that was led by Emma Smith and came out in 2018. And then the third article is, and you'll have to pardon my pronunciation, an article by Jayachandran Jaganathan from 2018 that really started to talk about, okay, how are we going to do this? Where are the areas that we can do it? And they talked about it at the undergraduate and in-service training level. I like to think it's the undergraduate and graduate level, given where I work. But they also made a critical point about training formal and informal caregivers. And that is a critical component to the grassroots level of service delivery providers that we're going to need to meet the needs of individuals with the technology needs of individuals with disabilities. Okay, so hopefully at this point I adequately got you to believe that there's a need for trained professionals. So let's talk about who are those professionals. And this is a list that I cobbled up once again from that article from Emma Smith and an article that I happen to be part of that was published in 2023 with a group of individuals from RESNA. And these are all the individuals, so everybody from assistive technology professionals to occupational therapists to physicians to rehabilitation assistants that potentially could be involved in the assistive technology process worldwide. And so this is a great list to go off of. But how do you start conceptualizing with all these people who could be involved in the assistive technology service delivery process? How do you start conceptualizing where they fit? And so, once again, this group from the Great Summit came out with these concentric circles to start to describe that. And they describe it with the pie wedge at the top of being in the community, in the region, or in the center. So center-based, regional-based, or community-based. And then they started talking about the different groups of people that could be involved in it. So on the outside, you have typically have simple products. Sometimes you might call them mainstream products, low-technology products, where they talk about the fact that there needs to be basic competence around assistive technology. And you could argue that that could be physicians and nurses who are seeing people for the first time and saying, hey, I don't know what assistive technology you need, but I think you need assistive technology, and I'm going to get you to the right people. In the middle is the product grouping, so you're getting groups of products together in subspecialties, and this could be occupational therapists and physiotherapists that are generalists in their field. And then finally, in the center is oftentimes what we're talking about when we're talking about complex rehab technology. We're talking about specialty projects, and so we want people who typically have additional training on assistive technology. And this could be assistive technology professionals, and it could be occupational therapists, speech-language pathologists, or physiotherapists. I had to remember which one I hadn't said yet. Physiotherapists that have gotten advanced post-professional training in assistive technology. So this is the one slide. If there's one slide that I want you to remember, I see a few people taking photos of it now that I've said that, so I appreciate you taking cue. There's one slide. This is the one slide that I took from Emma Smith's article and the Manship article that really stood out to me, because as we developed the assistive and rehabilitative technology certificate program, we didn't realize it at the time, but we took all these 4 goals in mind as we were putting it together. The first one is interprofessional collaboration. We know that interprofessional collaborative education and interprofessional collaboration leads to the best outcomes for the students during their training phases and to the consumers that are working with those professionals as they try to identify their technology needs. We want to be able to train specialists as well as generalists. We want to have pre-service training as well as post-professional training. And finally, we want to look at how are we delivering the education and training. Are we addressing the geographical landscape? So are we able to get to a broad audience? What modalities are we trying to use? And then what learning activities are we using? It doesn't always have to be somebody like myself standing in front of you talking to you. There's a lot of great ways, a lot of different learning activities that are available to us to use, especially in online environments. So just doing a quick time check here. Doing good. So I want to end by talking about how do we build capacity. And there's 4 examples that I found in preparing for today's presentation. And also one thing that I hadn't pointed out, that I was most recently the president of RESNA. And so I got to hear about these things through my role as on the board of directors and as president of RESNA. And the first one that stands out to me is the World Health Organization's wheelchair service training packages. I remember when the first package came out. I remember when the wheelchair service provision in less resource settings guidelines came out. They were huge. They were impactful. Those were the things that we were giving to our students all the time because they were something that they could use no matter where they wanted to go. The International Society of Wheelchair Professionals has been great. That's been developed out of the University of Pittsburgh. And so they've originally started there and has moved on from there. And they've put out training courses and curriculum packages. RESNA, which is the Rehabilitation, Engineering, and Assistive Technology Society of North America, has fundamental courses and continuing education courses. And then I'm using these examples for institutions of higher education from the U.S. because that's what I know. But the 4 that stand out to me are, of course, I have to pitch the Ohio State University. But the other ones are University of Illinois at Chicago, University of Pittsburgh, and University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. And the reason I picked those 3 was because they're all accredited. And one of the things that came out in the literature that I was looking into was the importance of accreditation for training organizations. And I'm specifically using training organizations because it doesn't always have to be an institute of higher education. So I'll wrap up in the next couple minutes just talking about how we met those goals. So everybody has different strategies and tactics for meeting those goals, and you'll use different strategies and tactics in your own environment, but these are some of the strategies that we used at The Ohio State University. The first one, we did a needs assessment. We wanted to see, is there really a need for trained professionals? And I think I've talked about that ad nauseum earlier in the presentation. The other thing that's really important, especially for us, is are there jobs for people? There may be need, but there may not be the jobs for that. We may have a recognized need. And in going through that, one of the things that we identified, and this may be something that we have to look into in the future, is what professions are involved and what's the name of that profession. Because we found job postings for computer science engineers that were looking for accessibility specialists and didn't realize that they even wanted somebody in the assistive technology world. There was this mismatch. So we may have to come around a naming convention and around how are we going to describe the job descriptions for assistive technology. We looked at credentialing and what credentialing is out there. The easy one for us is the RESNA certifications, the assistive technology professional, seating mobility specialist, and rehabilitation engineering technologist. Those are 3 certifications that we can look at. Hey, when we're done, when we want to look at our outcomes, those are 3 things that we can look at for our students. And then for the organization itself, we have the RESNA COA-rate accreditation. And then the last thing was we wanted to look at the education and training landscape. Is the market flooded with companies, with universities providing assistive technology education and training? And it isn't. And that's clearly came out of our scoping of the field. So we decided to go ahead. We developed the Assistive and Rehabilitative Technology Online Certificate Program with the mission of educating health science, engineering, rehabilitation counseling, and education students and professionals on the application of science and technology for improving the quality of life of individuals with disabilities and older adults. And I was glad to hear earlier in today's conversations the focus on older adults as well as individuals with disabilities. And then our vision is to provide a foundation for assistive technology and rehabilitation technology principles. The way we did it was we wanted to keep things simple, so we went with 5 courses. You only have to take 4 of them to get what we call the ARTC certificate, the ARTC certificate. There's an introductory course, and then there's 4 specialty courses, one on computers, communications, and controls, second one on assistive technology for seating and mobility, a third one on sports and recreation, which aligns with a previous presenter, and then one on augmentative and alternative communication. You can complete it in 9 months or 12 years, depending on how you want to go, and it's semester-based because it's at the university. And so one of the things that we were worried about is whenever you start a new company, you start a new business, you start a new program, you're afraid nobody's going to show up. And the first year in 2019, 2020, nobody showed up. We had less than 5 people join the program. There are silver linings to COVID, and one of those silver linings was that we had an online program, and our numbers steadily increased over time to where this past year we have over 90 undergraduate students and over 40 graduate students in the program. So it seems like there's people out there who are excited in combining this idea of health sciences and technology. And then we also saw the same in terms of looking at the individual courses. We've seen that same growth. So one thing that I'm a huge fan about, we've talked about it a little bit, is talking about outcomes. When we talk about outcomes from a service delivery standpoint, so you can look at, are you doing what you think you're doing? And you can look at outcomes from an education standpoint. And we've done it in 3 ways. One is by having the students complete a post-program survey, which they seem to be they say they are satisfied or completely satisfied with it. We look at how many of them are getting their certifications, and then what kind of jobs that they're going into. So I'm going to wrap up just real quickly here. First thing is, we feel like we met the goal of interprofessional collaboration because we have physical therapists, occupational therapists, engineers, assistive technology professionals, and consumers who participate in the ARTC program as educators. We're training both generalists and specialists. We're hitting students who are undergrad students who are coming up into the field, as well as post-professionals, so occupational therapists and physiotherapists that already have their degrees and want to learn more. And then because we're an online asynchronous program, we've had students from all over the United States, and I even had a student that was as far away as China, which was interesting with the time zone change, but because it was asynchronous, we were able to do it. So I hope for today's presentation, we were able to meet the objectives that I set forth in terms of describing a need for trained professionals, describing goals to meet that need, and illustrating a program that we developed at The Ohio State University. I'd like to end by acknowledging Mobility India, USSTEF, ICRC, and of course my colleagues at The Ohio State University and The Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center. So at this point, I will stop and see if there's any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Carmen. That was a very nice, comprehensive presentation. Any questions from anybody out here? I doubt it at the end of the day. Any energetic people around? Okay. So I have one question.
Sure, thank you.
All the workforce potentials that you identified, I don't see any mental health or counselors or psychologists mentioned in that.
You know what, you make a great point, because when you start talking about those concentric circles, they just get wider and wider of the people that could be involved in it. And I did that, well, I didn't specifically do that, but one of the reasons I think it happened was in looking in the literature as my guiding point for creating this presentation, they didn't show up there. But then that means we need to go back to those groups and start engaging with them to better understand how could they be a part of the assistive technology process. So I appreciate that, and thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, because we had one of our enthusiastic participants who actually brought out this factor that for 3 years, getting over that attitude of actually trying to come across, I think rehab professionals would be a great this thing. And my second question to you is, do you think this kind of a 9-month or a 12-month comprehensive engagement would work in India?
That's a really good question. You know, I actually think it's too long. I think if from what I've learned in engaging with people over the past week and in engaging with Mobility India, I think we would actually have to shorten it up. I don't think, I feel like people who are getting into assistive technology, they need to learn it faster, and they need to learn it in a just-in-time fashion is what I'm feeling from what I've heard. And so I don't know if, that's why I was very careful about saying this is the way we're doing it, but take the goals that we put out there and apply it in your environment. But thank you for bringing that up.
We'd love to discuss it out. And still any enthusiastic participants with any questions? If not, then I think thank you very much, Dr. Carmen. And at the end of it, I understood what ATP and SMS stands for. I'm sorry, I didn't say it earlier. I didn't know what it stood for. Right. So we go to our second presenter. Our second presenter for today. Oh, achha. I was told to give it in the end, na, Sarah? Okay, so the second presenter for today is none other than Justin Jesudas. Justin is the CEO at IIT Madras, co-founded the Thrive Mobility, and has 12 years of experience As a tetraplegic parathlete, with 20 years in research and strategy, he consults on disability inclusion and equity. So he will be talking upon access to empowerment, workforce development, and global wheelchair service provisioning. Over to you, Justin.
Yeah, but that's not right there.
Yeah, I know. We are not seeing that. We are seeing the in-person, flesh and blood person who's going to give us a very nice presentation now.
Is the mic on? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Good evening, everyone. And thanks to Dr. Carmen for making my job easy and also somewhat redundant. So I'm going to steer off the usual script and the presentation that I had made. I made some notes as well. I'll bring that up as well. So I'm going to talk about this entire workforce development from a user perspective. I have basically three things to talk about, right? So to start with, yes, my day job is at IIT Madras, Indian Institute of Technology Madras, where I head operations for a research center that designs and develops assistive technologies. Today, I'm standing in stage to represent ISWP, International Society of Wheelchair Professionals. I'm a board member there. And there are three questions that we can ask ourselves in terms of why we are doing this, right? One is, what is the purpose? And second is, what are we doing? And the third is, how are we going about doing that? And I'm going to stick to this slide for the next 6 minutes to talk about the user context, and then the following 4 minutes run through what exactly we are doing and how we are doing it. So 15 years back, when I picked up this spinal cord injury, I was admitted to one of the top hospitals in India, and they fixed me up with surgery, they fixed my spine, and then as I was weaning out of ICU and getting into the ward, the surgeon said to my friend there, go to Nampalli, you will have a lot of surgical shops, pick a wheelchair. Fast forward 15 years. Have things changed? Right now I'm in Chennai. People say go to Paris Corner, pick a wheelchair. Right? Huh? Sorry? Yeah, the place changed because of the city. Right? So, to put this in context, 90% of wheelchairs sold in India are hospital-grade wheelchairs, not meant for community use. They're only meant for taking the patient, not the user, patient, from the consultant's room to the ward or to the X-ray room or to scan, whatever it is. But unfortunately, these are the ones that are provisioned for community use as well. There could be various reasons for it. Focusing on numbers over quality or lack of awareness, whatever it is. But what does this do? India is home for persons with about 90 to 130 million people with disabilities, out of which possibly around 30 million could be persons with physical disabilities or physical impairment, out of which 10 million could be wheelchair users. How many of them do we see at the park that we go, Cubbon Park, Lal Bagh, or Marina Beach in Chennai, or to the favorite restaurants that you go, or to the movie hall? If you're not seeing that many, 1 in every 8 or 1 in every 10 with a disability, that's primarily because we put a lot of barriers out there. Proper provisioning does not happen. Proper rehabilitation does not happen. So when I say rehabilitation, I want to ask, how many here are clinicians? Show of hands. Right, okay, great. I'm going to push the needle here and ask, what does rehabilitation mean? I Googled it some time back. In a regular context or somewhat in a healthcare context, rehabilitation is defined as an action of restoring something that has been damaged to its former condition. But I also Googled, what does rehabilitation mean in a disability context? And it's slightly different. It gets very interesting. Rehabilitation is defined as a set of interventions designed to optimize functioning and reduce disability in individuals with health conditions in interaction with their environment. It sounds like a cheap knockoff of the previous definition, isn't it? Somewhat, compensate for the disability, somewhat functioning. Why not bring them back to what they were doing? Rehabilitation is all about community participation and community integration. As a person with disability, after I acquire disability, I should have interventions so that when I go back to the community, I should be doing the same things. Community roles. As a good son, as a good father, as a good spouse, as a good friend, good colleague, good citizen, I need to do everything. Disability should not be the reason. And rehabilitation, rehab tech, assistive tech should exactly fix that gap and not push me to, okay, you had a spinal cord injury, we fixed your catheter, your bladder is fixed, your bowel management is fixed, we can manage now, go and manage your spinal cord injury. No, I want to live well with my spinal cord injury. My own life experience, 3 technologies, right technologies. This looks like a very fancy wheelchair because I've been using it for the last 3 years. I've had a disability for the last 15 years. And the previous wheelchairs that I got were from eBay, picked up a $300, $400 Tylite wheelchair or a Quickie wheelchair, and I was using it. Despite being a used wheelchair, I was performing and functioning at a very, very high level. A wheelchair, a transfer board, and a modified car. I'm traveling the globe all by myself. I have a C6 quadriplegia. Motor complete. That's what right technology can do, right? That's the impact of technology. Now, I'm going to go back to the slide now. So how does this, and what exactly does ISWP do in this context, right? We exactly want to create an environment where wheelchair users can thrive. Wheelchair users and their family can perform in the best possible manner, and for which right technology is provided to them. And this we do, along with WHO following their guidelines. The ISWP was established in 2015, was part of Pittsburgh University. In the last 1 year, the organization is moving to form its own board, have its own strategy, and start looking at things in a much more closer manner. 3 pillars really. One is, how can government pay? Because 90% of the world's population with disability are in developing country or underdeveloped country. So how can government pay for it? I've heard a lot of conversation where people say, hey, this model needs to change. People should be paying for it. But even in high-income country, we're talking about insurance paying for it. In Western Europe, there are a lot of countries where still government pays for it. There are government agencies that pay for it. So while people can still argue, I think this needs to be put in context, right? The second thing is training professionals so that wheelchairs are provisioned in an appropriate manner. This is very, very important. Something like a pair of spectacles in India, you can't buy it without prescription. Why should wheelchair alone be given without prescription? That narrative needs to change. And the third one is the quality of the device itself. And I think I emphasized enough in terms of the hospital-grade wheelchairs being sold. How do we do it? What are the resources available? We provide online courses, we provide certification, and that's where, thank you, Dr. Carmen, for emphasizing on all of that. So that's a model that ISWP follows as well. We also come up with facilitating different testing centers across the globe so that the devices are tested. Yesterday I was in Empower conference, and a lot of startups brought in assistive devices, wheelchairs and attachments. One fundamental question that I asked them, what do you do for testing? They went blank. What are the standards? And the counter question they asked is, oh, there are no standards in India. Sure, there are no standards, but there are ISO standards. Why don't you make it for the globe? And there were also investors, and I pointed out saying that if a company has not tested the device for ISO standards, simply you should not invest in them because the user safety is compromised. We have different levels of training, both online and offline modules, and different series starting from basic level to intermediate level. And some of the benefits of certification, Dr. Carmen already covered that. This is a fundamental question that I want to put out for everybody. If your feet size is 8, would you settle for, if I give you a 13 size shoe, how would you walk? That's exactly what is happening with a lot of wheelchair users, 90% of the wheelchair users. How can you get involved? If you're a clinical professional, if you're a physiotherapist, occupational therapist, you can sign up for membership, you can take up the certification, you can be part of the committee and the groups that we form, advocacy or certification level or standard level committees that we do, and basically help promote ISWP's work. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin, as usual. That was a wonderful presentation. So do we have any questions now? Yes.
Only easy questions.
Justin, I think you touched a very sensitive point of standards and quality. But the good thing is, like India, Bureau of Indian Standard has adopted the ISO
Yes.
standards just recently. I think if Anand is there, he can just say when it was done. I think Printy? This year they have adopted. So there are standards available. But as you said, legislation should be there to mandate it.
Correct.
The product should not go down until unless it is tested. And I think it is also more about making the this awareness among the users. They should demand and ask for it. That without whether it has standards or not, and as you said, cannot fit a size 8 feet with size 13 shoes.
True.
I think that is one of the important takeaways of today's talk of yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think the BIS standards have always been there. The ISO standards have been adopted since 2024.
24, yes.
But wheelchair standards have been there with the BIS, I think more than 5-7 years, if I'm listening.
No, actually,
they were there, but the ISO standards were never taken up. They are there. They have the MHD certifications. There are about 32 MHDs which they have out there.
Yeah.
No, after that they have them this thing in the thing.
In fact, up
Whatever.
until last year, BIS got in touch with IIT Madras to form a committee to create standards.
Yes, yes. So
I think we were part of BIS. Tarun is still there. I was part of BIS from 2008. And we brought the standards. We built up standards for active chairs, which are there in BIS, published in 2018. And prior to that, there was only standards which were submitted by LIMCO, which were 1973. Then they were again readopted in 1991. And those standards were mostly for indoor chairs.
Yeah.
And what Justin said, transfer chairs. There were no standards for active chairs.
Yes.
And we built the standards. And I think that was one of the very proud moment for me in particular, that we worked with the team and we built the national standards. It got published in 2018, but I do not know whether it is being used by manufacturers for production or not.
No.
I don't know. And during COVID, we have submitted 15 standards for various assistive devices to BIS, myself, Tarun, and another piano professional. We worked together. I do not know whether they are being adopted or not. Whole COVID pandemic lockdown, we three of us, we have been coordinating together, and we built 15 standards for all the products. What Dr. Singh was saying today on the NLAP list, we volunteered and picked up the products of all the piano products, including cushion, including ramps, including developmental devices, including clubfoot shoes and braces, A4's various designs, spinal orthotics, except upper limb orthotics, we've done everything, and we submitted to BIS. If you want, I can share all the standards with you. But I do not know where it is now and what's the progress.
Yeah.
But if it does not get adopted, it will be a painful
Right now,
situation
it's
for
in a
us.
discussion level to finalize.
Yeah, 4 years discussion going on.
no, don't be so morose about it. Commendable work. We must give them a good round of applause, please. And I assure you, it will be taken up. Right. So the next presenter we have. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I keep forgetting. Right. So the third presenter that we have is Guru M, who's a prosthetist and orthotist from Mobility India, Bengaluru itself, and he'll be speaking on integration model to workforce development for CRT, local to global. Mr. Guru M is a prosthetist and orthotist with a master's in prosthetics and orthotics. He works at the Mobility India Rehab Research and Training Center and is a very passionate individual about assistive technology, dedicated to innovation